Hello, this is Desert Builders coming to you with a DIY indoor office garage that you can build yourself for less than $1,000 with AC. So, big thing you're going to need to know here is essentially what we're building is a 2x4 frame, a skeleton, if you will, and then 2-inch polyiso foam around the outside. And some of the core benefits of this are it works well in a rental. In my case, I was in a rental house that I needed to be able to move it and not impact, the existing house or structure. And so this worked really well for that. Tools you're going to need. You're going to need a drill, a utility knife, duct tape if you want to seal the seams, and then a miter or circular saw to cut the studs with. So pretty simple. Brief look at the overview. I built it kind of small and cozy, so interior dimensions are 5.5 feet by 6.5 feet and 6'1" or 6'2" tall. So just barely over my head. I'm 6 feet tall. And you can see top view, fit the desk. I've got the door and the AC unit there. And then essentially, again, we're building a skeleton frame out of 2 long views of studs and then 2 shorter walls. And from those, we're going to slap together the 4 sides. And again, so because it was a rental, I wanted to make sure it was easy to take apart as well. So I used some Star special screws that were decking screws that I could easily screw in and then easily also undo so they didn't strip. So that way I was able to move it to a new house when we moved. So total costs for my build was $670. You can see all this. And so pretty straightforward. Again, 2-inch foam boards are the biggest expense cost of it, and then 2x4s. I've got a OSB sheet of plywood that I put in the back. And if you're going to do that just to kind of keep your backdrop smooth for video, just know that you'll want to let it off gas for a couple days because OSB is kind of strong with the glue they use. And then I use zinc fender washers between the screws to kind of hold the foam without ripping it, just enough to hold pressure there. And then a small window AC unit. I got mine used, and smallest one you can find is great. And they're pretty cheap if you can get them. I got mine for $50 used from a garage sale, but if you need to buy it, $160 at Home Depot. And then I used acrylic sheets to make a small window in the frame. So the process is pretty simple. You just frame out each of those 4 walls, and I just put 2 screws in each joint between the studs so it doesn't twist. So that includes between the braces and then your top and bottom plates. And then once you've done one frame to the dimensions you'd like, go ahead and you can see I've got 2 frames back there and then starting the 3rd frame. Go ahead and continue with the frames. And then I pre-cut all the polyiso boards, including you can see the AC window hole. And that makes it super simple because now you can just kind of stand it up, although I also do dry fits with it. And you can see I did build in a frame in the 2x4s to hold the actual weight of the AC unit since they're kind of heavy. So you're going to need to frame it to your exact dimensions for the AC unit you get. But I had that in there kind of over the desk, and we'll see a picture of the inside in a minute. And then once you're kind of getting everything set up, I do just some dry fitting of holding it up, make sure I got the hole exactly in the right place in the foam boards. And then go ahead and dry fit the frame. Here you can see I have actually screwed it together now. And so the frame is fully built except for the final wall there standing on its own. When I was building it myself, I also used bungee cords to hold the wall so I could move on to the 3rd and 4th wall because it was just me building this on my own in the garage. And we're in Arizona, it was hot, so you can see I've got fans blowing on me. It's kind of warm doing this. And then again, start getting the roof on, and in my case, it's a small enough dimension that I didn't feel like I needed to have any roof joists or anything. If you were going to put more weight or make the pod be bigger, you might want to do some form of trusses across with just 2x4s laying across. But in my case, I didn't need that. So the foam boards as the 2-inch boards were thick enough to hold some basic weight and maintain themselves across that 6.5 foot span. So that is what I did for them. And then you can see again dry fitting the rest of the panels on there. And then beginning to attach them. So I attached them all using just 4 of those washers and screw combos, 1 in each corner, regardless of the size of the panel. You can see the smaller panel there has the same 4 screws holding it in, but super simple. And again, if you need to disassemble it, just simply unscrew those 4, pull the panel off, and you can keep going. And then in my case, I originally built this with the door in the back where I would just slide a panel for super simplicity. That ended up not working out, so I'm just showing you the brace that I actually removed to put the door in the right location this time, and I also didn't want the door being in my backdrop when I was on video calls. So this made it much simpler and cleaned up my backdrop. So again, you can see I put a piece of spare carpet I just had a rug we were throwing away anyways and was able to cut that to the right size and shove it in there. So I wasn't on the bare concrete, but you could certainly do the bare concrete as well. Then sitting the window AC unit in there. So also worth noting is I have run a hardline Ethernet cable and a power strip into this, and you can see just barely there in the wall. I've got the power strip plugged in beneath the fan in the wall, and then the power strip is where the AC unit and the computers are plugged into. And then I had a hardwire Ethernet line from the router in the house because otherwise the Wi-Fi wasn't reaching very well out here. And I just got a 100-foot Ethernet cable, and that worked great. So you can see I had spare foam bits. I'm not sure if it did anything, but I figured more insulation is better, so I just stacked the extras on top of the pod when I was done. And then you can see again, this picture has it finished with the door in the back. You can see the light coming out of the back. That is not the final config. I figured out really quick in the first week. That's not how I wanted to do it. And so then here's a picture of it kind of put back together. You can see more spare foam on top. And also a small little thing I did is I put a USB light and had it stick up out through the foam and just kind of taped around it. And then I had it come down to a USB extension that would sit at my keyboard. So when I was on the phone, which was often, I would plug it into my keyboard as an indicator for my wife and kids that don't come bother me because I'm actually on a call right now. And then when I wasn't on a call, I would just unplug it from the keyboard. And you can see in this next picture, there's the USB call light at the top, off again. And now you can see I've got the door in the window in the new location, and I actually put the door on hinges and much nicer, although I just put duct tape handles to kind of pull it open and closed. You could go more fancy with that, but that's what I did. And again, due to the small size, you can see I easily fit in a 2-car garage. I'm not even taking up the full bay. And because the 2-inch foam is pretty thick, I was able to stack just loose boxes and empty bulky things on top of the pod as storage in the garage. So it really worked really well. We were still fully able to pull the van into the other side of the garage and it didn't really impact anything else. And then because the door is so tight, you have to actually pull the side panel off to get the desk, the chairs, etc. into it. So here you can see I've just pulled off the panel briefly, slide the desk in. You can see a bit of my backdrop there. And again, I have OSB just on the top 4 feet, and then the bottom didn't matter so much because it's below the camera level. And I have added just a painter's backdrop that I had on hand, and then some pictures just to liven up my backdrop a little bit. And then when I was moving it, I actually took a picture because it's pretty tight quarters to get a photo of the inside. So here's kind of what that backdrop looked like from above, just looking right over the edge with the top off. And so you can see it looks nice. I actually did iron that top part of the painter's backdrop just so it wasn't all wrinkly and stuff for the camera. Still could have done a better job. And that is just a used staple gun to staple that onto there. And then here is a view, darker view without the second light of kind of what it looked like for me sitting in here. And you can see I've got my phone, which was Ethernet, so that worked well. And then I have computer, laptop, like that, the light in there, and the AC unit just over my right shoulder there. And I usually was able to keep it in Arizona in the summer. I was able to keep this on low for most of the time, and it did just great. Every now and then I need to take it up to high, but the AC unit was nice because it would go to lower and high. And this AC unit was so small, I think it was 350 or 500 watts, so it really didn't pull a lot of electricity for keeping this cool in the summer. But this worked really well for being quiet and out away from the noise of the house by being in the garage and then further in the 2-inch foam. And then here you can see I have a second light that I think it was $8 or $9 at Home Depot, threw a light bulb in. I just attached it to the side stud, and you can see I used the braces as shelves for this as well. So had a little space to kind of personalize it a bit, and it worked really well. And here it is in the new location. It's looking a little rougher for the wear, but I was able to just literally pick the thing up and move it and quickly undid most of the walls, slapped it in a truck, brought it to the new house, quickly reassembled it, and worked great. And I've worked in this for 2 or 3 years until we bought a house, and then I was able to build a more permanent office, which will be a future video. But that is how to do a pod in the garage for less than $1,000 and works even in Arizona with the AC unit. Thanks.